A total solar eclipse of the sun is one of nature's grandest events. And while the science is completely understood, there's something very primal feeling that you experience when the sun disappears at noon. The April 8th, 2024 eclipse over the United States will provide an excellent opportunity to see this spectacular event of nature. Are you prepared to safely view it? In this video, we'll tell you all our tips to safely view an eclipse. Hi y'all, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Becky.
And together we're a cruising good time.
One of our traveling passions is to go on trips to see solar eclipses. We've been on 3 international trips and 1 domestic U.S. trips. Every one has been incredible.
They're always spectacular. They're always wonderful thing to do.
We had incredible experiences for every trip, but we really can't explain how amazing it feels to be in darkness in the middle of the day. So one of the reasons that the total solar eclipse over the U.S. on April 8th, 2024 is so special is there's not going to be another total solar eclipse in the United States until 2045.
That is correct. And the 2024 eclipse is also a pretty long eclipse as far as eclipses go. It's going to be over 4 minutes and close to 4.5 minutes in some areas, which is very long for an eclipse to happen.
So we have planned 4 total solar eclipse trips, and today we're going to utilize our experience to give advice on how to plan the best, most amazing trip for you.
Absolutely. Number one thing is get on the path of totality. That's where the umbra part of the shadow is touching the earth. So it's different between a total eclipse being in the umbra and being outside of that is where you see a partial is almost literally the difference between night and day. No kidding. You want to be in the path of totality. There's a lot of great places to find that on the internet. There's a person that makes some great eclipse maps, is Xavier Hubert, and I have a link to his stuff below. And he has some excellent information on durations and eclipses and paths of totality.
Right. Yep. And you touched upon the next subject is duration of totality. So you're going to look across that map and you'll see that it has a band. At this center line is where you're going to have the very longest time of totality. It's not linear as you get away from this. So that's why Xavier's information is so great. You can look to see exactly how long a specific place will be in totality. And as you move away from the center line, obviously it's going to decrease. So for the next discussion on planning, we just want to talk about some of the issues they had in 2017, and that's why it's so important that you plan ahead. So for instance, in Missouri, so many people were on the highway that the highway completely stopped down. And although people weren't supposed to, they got out of their vehicles and they picnicked and they watched the eclipse from the road.
Yes. And we don't advocate stopping on the highway to watch it, just to be crystal clear. But if you plan ahead and you're already at your destination, you don't have to be worried about being caught in a traffic jam.
Be sure that before eclipse day, you have a full tank of gas, you have a lot of water on hand, that you have food, medicine, and of course, sunscreen.
Another key thing to keep in mind for the eclipse viewing is the probability of cloud cover, and you need to research that as well because obviously if there's clouds, you're not going to see the eclipse. So the American Astronomical Society, we have a link below, do have some forecasts for probability of cloud cover, and you should take that into account wherever you're going to go see the eclipse.
So the number one thing to consider for your eclipse is safety.
Absolutely. And we have a link below to the American Astronomical Society that has a link of approved, what they consider approved vendors that have different types of solar filters and glasses. There, unfortunately, are a lot of nefarious people out there that are looking to make a quick buck, that are putting merchandise out there that is not up to standards. Don't risk your eyesight on it. Buy only from an approved vendor that has quality merchandise. So one of the easiest things that most people use are these very stylish and fancy eclipse glasses that you can buy online or at any museum's going to have them and all that. They block the sun's rays out. You can look at all the partial phases of the eclipse through these, and they're pretty easy to use, obviously. My favorite way to view an eclipse is with number 14 Welders glass, which is the darkest welding glass there is. It's hard to find because it's so dark, a lot of welders don't like it, but it is a great way to see the eclipse, and that's my preferred way to watch the partial phases. But you can get this from any welding supply store. I've bought several sheets of it online from some big welding supply stores. You can also buy filters. This is one that goes in a filter that goes on front of a pair of my binoculars that I have, 50mm binoculars. It's got the same mylar in it that you would find in an eclipse glass. And this is really good to watch the partial phases as well. An important thing to keep in mind here too is there's also a lot of boneheads out there that are going to sell you filters that go on the back side of your telescope or on the eyepiece of your telescope or your binoculars. Do not buy those. You're magnifying the sun's rays into that little filter. Only use filters that go in the front of the binoculars or telescope.
Important safety tip. One of my favorite things to have for eclipse viewing is a blanket and a pillow. Just lay down and get comfortable for one of the most incredible experiences of your life. So when we're set up, we are all set up and we are watching things right when we have first contact, when the moon first starts to get in front of the sun. And it'll almost look like the moon is eating the sun. And it'll go across. And that in itself, and watching it is, it is very exciting. And as it gets closer and the moon is covered more and more sun, the light is going to be doing the light at the edges all around the horizon, 360 degrees around. The light's going to be going down. It's kind of like a 360-degree sunset. But there's something different about it. It's almost it's kind of an eerie feeling. And as it's getting close to totality in those last few minutes, like the wind is going to pick up, the temperature is going to start to drop. It may drop 15 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. The animals, like the cows, will start to go in. The birds will start heading home. The crickets will start chirping. Yep. All this is totality, is right as totality is approaching.
Right. That's part of what you want to take in beyond just what you see in the sky. There's a lot happening on the Earth to look at it too. Watch the shadows from trees, because they'll make little crescents on the ground, which is another great way to view partial eclipsing, is by looking at the shadow on the ground from the leaves on the trees. They'll look different. And then as second contact occurs and totality begins, right as that happens, there's a phenomenon called Bailey's beads, which is where the sun is coming through the valleys between the mountains on the moon, and it'll make like some beads on the edge of it. And then finally there's what's called a diamond ring effect, where it looks like a big diamond ring, where the last little bit of sunlight is removed by the moon. Then you move into full totality with where you can see the corona of the sun.
So the sun has an 11-year cycle on solar activity and sunspot activity, and we're approaching where it's going to be the apex of where these get higher. So this should be terrific viewing, because you have a higher chance to see like solar prominences.
Right, and the solar prominences looks like they're red flares that you can see on the sun during totality. There'll be like a little red bead inside at the edge of the moon, inside the corona. And it's really spectacular to see. So we should get a lot of them with this eclipse, because we're near the solar maximum. Another thing to watch out for in the sky are the planets. You can actually see the planets during the eclipse, and you can see some of the brighter stars. For this eclipse coming up, Venus and Jupiter should be very easy to identify. Mars is going to be very close in there too. And we've got a real treat this time, because there's a comet that was just recently discovered that's going to be near perihelion during the eclipse. So we may or may not be able to see that comet. Look for it kind of over in the vicinity of Jupiter when you see it, but I wouldn't waste a lot of time looking for the comet. Enjoy the eclipse while you got it. You can see the comet during other parts of the calendar year.
So another interesting phenomena for me is post-eclipse, and that's about people. The second totality is finished, some people are going to jump on the road, and there are going to be giant traffic jams. Even if you wait around a few hours, there will be huge traffic jams. Highly recommend that whatever you've planned for, just stay there, watch all of the eclipse finishing, and extra time at the site. Plan to do a barbecue, a picnic, whatever it is. Just don't plan to get on the road till several hours after all the eclipse is completed. Please give us a like, subscribe, and leave comments below.
Thanks a lot for watching.